that day. For some reason, so I got to be honest, just being there the day and, sort of reliving it, I think it would be too emotional for me at this point in time. It's a lot of serious memories,
But we are going. So if you have to cry, hold your cloth close by so you could cry. All right?
I think I did that the first time.
Viewers, if he cry, he cry. No big man does cry. There's nothing wrong with that. If big man had to cry, big man had to cry. There's absolutely nothing wrong with crying. All right? So, Devon, the days leading up to, in fact, tell us what the genesis of October 19th came from. But in fact, okay, let's take it from this point. Explain your involvement in the revolution.
Okay. As a young man growing up, the revolution, while going to GBSS, I was a student of GBSS and so in 1979. The revolution came about March 13th, Tuesday morning, right, 1979, and I think I was in, Form 2 or 3 at that time, yeah, and the feelings was good because growing up and living in Tempe, at the time, and so there was a sort of progressive movement, around there. Persons like Ralph Thomas, known as Ralphie, one of the leaders of the revolution also, Gerald Allen, and those guys, and so was around, even presently Senator Nazim Burke. And so those guys were part of a movement, right? And so that was progressive, always to oppose Gary and, support the New Jewel movement and that sort of thing. So on that, March 13th came about, and so on, as a young man, so going GBSS, got involved, and so, and
you got involved before the actual revolution, or you were involved in the planning, you were involved in the execution, or after the revolution?
Yes.
You became involved?
Yes, I got involved as a young man, 12, 13 years, during the revolution, and the inception of it. And so you had the National Youth Organization, NYO, the militia, and so, right, I was part of that at the early stage while going to school and that sort of thing. And then eventually, and so just before, I didn't finish my GBSS education, just about to do exams, right, in 1982. Myself and my friend Weezo and a number of other young men, we left and went to Cuba. We got a short scholarship to study military in Cuba. And so,
what military?
I studied artillery, right? Mortar, anti-tank, the bigger type of artillery and so, right? My other friend, anti-aircraft and other, and part in infantry.
At what age would you have been doing that?
At around 17, 16, 17.
Child soldiers.
Yeah, that's why I told you I graduated from the NYO and I'm up to the militia. So as an active youth, and so you tend to be pulled in, into most of the activities of the revolution. And so, but we were destined, we love being soldiers, right? Seeing the examples of some of our elder friends like Bogman and Pop and Porgy Sherabin and all these kind of things, Headache and Bogo, these were they were young, elder than us, but they were young leaders of the revolution, and we tended to follow, in their footsteps. And so we left, we went to Cuba, and so spent almost 4 months studying military, and then when we came...
So it was a short course?
Yeah, short military course.
English, Spanish?
Well, Spanish. Some of us who had the opportunity to do Spanish in school picked up fast, was able to, so it was easier for us. But we had a translator from the day we landed till the day we left. And so we had no problem in terms of translating and so on and everything. On returning to Grenada, September of 1982, I immediately joined the People's Revolutionary Army. Right?
So you came back with the training?
Yes.
You came back, you were a member. Which unit were you attached to?
Well, I was attached to Region 1, which was situated on FORT Frederick, that's right up there, right, where NAGMA is there, right? That was the headquarters, right? You had different units there. You had the anti-aircraft unit, you had the artillery unit, you had infantry unit, right? The motorized infantry, you had the BTR, and so had a particular unit up there.
Well, some people keep hearing BTR. What was the BTR?
The BTR is an armored personnel carrier. It's a vehicle, not a tank. Looks like a tank, smaller version. The tank usually carry the chain wheels, but the BTR and BRDM armored cars, they carry tires, but big tires. But they carry a big gun, but a couple millimeters in terms of big gun on top of it. And it used to be used to transport troops rapid deployment and so. So you had a mission, let's say, to restore order in St. George's or whatever. The unit would be the first unit to move in, take up position, and ensure that everything is all right.
You were attached to that?
No,
I attached to a separate unit at that location?
At that location. So at that location, there were about 4 or 5 different units, right, situated there, including exploration and so. Right, and so that's where I was stationed.
And that would have been towards the end of 1982 into 1983.
Into 1983. And so.
Okay, were there rumblings, were there rumors starting to pass around earlier than 1983 of discord within the party?
Well, yes, I can say yes, because if most Grenadians who were around that time remember, in 1982, in July, I think, yes, July of 1982, Bernard Code resigned from the Central Committee of the party, right? Not from the government, but from the Central Committee of the party. That was the leading arm of the party, right? The one that makes all the decisions and everything like that. That would make up of himself, Morris Bishop, Unison Whiteman, George Louison, Ewart Lane, Bogo Cornwall, Chucky Ventu. It was about between 12 to 14 of them, right? They were members of the Central Committee. So he resigned from the Central Committee and the Politburo, or the Political Bureau, right, of the party, and so, but remained as the finance minister of the government from 1982. So from there, his political role had ended. Yes, his active and leading political role, right, on the face of it has ended. Was ended at that time, right? But his influence still remained, as one of the, in my view, the second most powerful person within the revolution. At that time he was deputy prime minister, and so. But resigning from the party, that would have left a lot of persons who were close to the party and the revolution to understand, or to basically be aware that, look, something is not right within the party itself. But not much was paid attention by the ordinary person and so, but a lot was going on within the party, the active organs of the party, the Central Committee, the Political Bureau, the General Body, and even the armed forces. Around that time, right, around the end of 1982, you found a lot of changes within the military, right? A lot of key persons like lieutenants, captains who control key units, and so they were sent on 1 year, 2 year courses to Cuba, Soviet Union, and so. After that, person was saying that most of them were the loyal persons to Morris Bishop, so they were basically cleaning them out.
But would that have made sense that you're cleaning them out if you're sending them to become better at what they do?
Well, that's the whole thing. So I'm saying that's what persons were saying, because the revolution ended at that time. But a lot of them, a couple of them, they were moved sent away to study and so. So there were a lot of changes within the apparatus, the armed forces, and so, between 1982 and October of 1983. And so visible changes and so, all right?
Changes like,
for example, Lieutenant Colonel Ewart Lane, right, who was basically the day-to-day person that was running the army, and so he was, at that point in time, he was sent to the Soviet Union for a while, but was brought back sometime in January, right, of 1983, right? Leon Cornwall, who was ambassador to Cuba, at that point in time was brought back home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you would have seen the, the movement, the changes within the, the upper echelon, and so, how could I put it? Unit commanders, and so he had a reshuffle and that sort of thing. So, bearing in mind, I mean, now we can see that, but at that point in time, ordinary soldiers and persons were not paying attention to some of it. Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that it was the strategy to eventually do what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the changes were visible around that time, around late 1982,
Mm-hmm.
go right up until October of 1983.
Okay, we have a good friend of ours who messaged me a little while ago, and they want to give their story, but I have to call them. So
Okay.
I'm giving them a call now. Let's see if we can reach them. A good
You
friend.
have reached the voicemail.
Oh gosh, we gain voicemail.
All right.
Yeah, we gain voicemail.
So,
What kind of thing is that?
so if you're listening, turn on your phone. All right. Yeah. So the visible movements of changes within both the army, the party, and so you could have felt it as one who was part of it. You could have felt the differences and so and everything.
Would the average Grenadian been aware of these
No.
changes that were taking place?
No, they wasn't aware of the changes. But what I can say, all right, sometime in 1982, right, around 1982, there was a rumor that was spread stating that Bernard Code or Phyllis Code and Bernard Code had stolen some $6 million from the treasury and sent it to Jamaica and that sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So there was that sort of, so persons they wanted to know whether it was a rumor or it was true and everything like that, and then came, I think, the resignation of Bernard Code and all these sort of things. So yes, there was a little tension, around the general population, but not being aware of most of the changes and the movements within the leadership of the army and even the party. So I would say yes, they were aware of, perhaps a little friction was there, but not to the magnitude, that it was.
All right.
Like that.
And let's call again. Is a person I think everybody knows, and let's see if we can get them. We're gonna try once again, and let's see if we can get this individual online. I don't know what's taking place here. Devon, let me try it again.
Let's try it again.
Yes, let's try it again. And folks, we will be taking your individual stories of what happened with you on this day. We will be taking those stories. So let's see if we're getting through.
You have reached the voicemail box.
Yeah, we keep getting the voicemail. Yeah, I'm not sure. So let me let them call.
Yes.
Yes, so the days leading up to October 19th.
Yes.
Where were you? What were you doing? What was taking place?
Okay. Sometime around the end of September, right? Some of the real split and the rift within the revolution, the leadership of the revolution, surfaced when Maurice Bishop, the Prime Minister, and a delegation went to the east. I think it was Romania and one or two other countries, right, for a state visit. And on that visit, right, it is alleged that, well, let me just step back one. Just before the Prime Minister left for the official trip, right, to the east, there was a very important Central Committee meeting held, right? The details, it's too much to mention, but the major thing that came up in that meeting in September, I think it was around the 11th or the 12th of September, right, was the whole question of returning Bernard Code into the Central Committee and Politburo of the party.
And let's take up in
Yes.
and see if we're getting. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Yes. Hello.
Good morning.
And I could hear them playing with the phone, so like
yes.
they're not hearing us.
Yeah, they're not hearing us.
Oh boy, they'll have to call us
Well,
back.
hey, we got the whole morning.
We are at the point of returning
Yes.
Bernard Cord
to the Central Committee
Right.
and to the leadership of the party itself. The suggestion was made. But also, there was another suggestion which stated that they wanted to adopt the whole question of joint leadership within the party. Now, the question, based on how it was explained, right, by the leadership of the party, joint leadership, you would have Maurice Bishop and Bernard Cord as jointly leading the party, right? The leadership of the party will be jointly shared. One, which is Bernard Cord, will be responsible for basically the political matters, and so ensuring that the education, through socialism, whatever the direction of revolution, he would be the main person to pilot, right, the programs, whatever the revolution stands for and where it wanted to go. He was the one that would champion that as one of the leaders. Maurice Bishop will remain as prime minister, right, and the one responsible for ensuring that the people itself were mobilized, energized, and were kept in line in terms of knowing what was going on within the country, internationally, the regular prime minister job, right?
What the soldiers had to think about that?
Well,
because as soldiers, all they were tough.
No, but that didn't reach the soldiers as yet. I'm just talking about the meeting itself. And it was decided in that meeting, based on my information, not unanimously. There were one or two objections, I think, by George Louison and one or two others, but was in a minority. But it was decided in a majority vote that the joint leadership question will be entertained, and it was voted upon. Right? And so the party decided on that. It was said that Maurice Bishop agreed with the proposal, but he still had reservation as how it would work, right? Based on my information from members of the party and so. He eventually left on that state visit. George Louison left before with a early delegation to welcome him and so. And they all met up, I think, in Romania, or a couple of the Eastern countries. And it was alleged that a meeting of a number of persons within, like party members and government officials, including Maurice Bishop, Unison Whiteman, and not Unison Whiteman, but George Louison, met. And the disagreement of that joint leadership issue basically start floating from there. It was said that George Louison eventually convince the Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, not to accept the whole question of joint leadership. Because remember, George Louison was a very powerful ideologue within the party, one of the 5 top leaders within the party, right? Very influential, and so. So he would have basically sort of put something else on the table for Maurice to think about, and so. And, that's where the disagreement came up with the whole joint leadership question. Well, the news came from outside there that what was going on. So it was being prepared here now by the other leaders of the revolution. Look, well, what is going on? We need, when he came back, we need to know what's going on, because we made a decision, party this and that, and look at what we are hearing. Because persons on that said trip was reporting 2 members of the Central Committee and the rest of the leadership down here. So they was aware of the meeting and what transpired. So
even traveling with him, he had persons
who were basically loyal, quote unquote, to the other side. Right? So so on his return, and good morning, Peter St. Paul. Yeah, on his return at Paul's airport, it was alleged again also that there was a plan to ambush the leadership motorcade, and so it was diverted from coming over the hills to another destination, right? All praises to Peter St. Paul.
We hear these things, but was that really a truthful situation, that there was indeed a plan to execute the leadership on the way from Pearl's Airport down to St. George?
Well, it was alleged. I have not seen over the years or heard of any concrete facts, of that. But for example, a person like Peter St. Paul, who was in a position of personal security for Morris Bishop, right, would have assessed the situation both from the trip and based on what he left, right, and perhaps at that time he would have decided that, look, we need to change around in terms of security and so to get the Prime Minister back to the residence and everything like that. All right, so that was done. And so, and
so the Prime Minister has now returned from this trip.
yes, in early October.
He has firmed up in his mind, this is the direction that I believe we should go. The other side would have firmed up in their minds, this is the direction we believe we should go. What happened next?
Well, stepping back one, before his return, he stopped in Cuba, all right, and so, and he also made a trip to the United States, either just before they went to the European trip, and so. But it was said that on his way back, he visited Cuba and had a discussion with President Fidel Castro, you know, briefing him on the situation with the political situation with the party, the government, and everything like that. And it was from there also talking to some of the other leaders of the party, you know, at one point in time. It was there that Morris Bishop decided or was firm on his position not to accept the joint leadership question. Right? The other leaders claimed that he was influenced a lot by Fidel Castro, who was his personal friend and mentor. Right? So, and also when all of that was playing, and they knew, they had information, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, one out of the security personnel, right, who were with him was eventually one of the ones who basically aided in putting Morris Bishop under house arrest, but I'll come to that, right? And so information was flowing while he was on his trip, you know, step by step, informing the other leaders and so on, and everything like that. So
because Grenada was receiving support from Cuba,
yes,
and from several other countries,
and some other, including Soviet Union and everything like that.
The Prime Minister comes back to Grenada. Go over first the process. How did he end up under house arrest?
Okay. Now, on returning to Grenada, the tension rise from the time of he left the airport and returned to his residence, and so the tension within the party began to rise. Persons were questioning him about, you know, his decision and everything, and he was adamant about, look, we need to discuss this thing, come up with a better solution, this thing won't work, and he was basically back and forth. Right? And so, and he was supported by a number of his other colleagues, and so like Unison Whiteman, Kenneth Radix, Norris Bain, persons who were basically giving him enough support, like, look, no, we couldn't go there, and so. But the party, right, had already made that decision, that's the way, you know, they wanted to go. Eventually, it was alleged, right, that Morris Bishop called his security, two of his security personnel, right? And if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, Mr. St. Paul, please correct me. Right? Peter St. Paul and Harry George, who was the other person very close to Morris Bishop. Right? It was alleged that Morris Bishop called Harry George and Peter St. Paul and instructed them or told them that, look, there is a to go out there and spread a rumor that Bernard Code and his wife wanted to kill him. Okay? Now, when that rumor, well, it did reach out on the street, but that rumor, before it reached there, it reached to the leaders, right, of the party, and so, before he could get out there, right? Harry George, right, one of the security personnel, went to his chief, right, Lieutenant Ashley Ramfolks, who was the person responsible for all personal security details, right, and so at that time, and so he was first lieutenant, and so it was there that it was reported to the leadership that, look, this is what was told, allegedly told, right, to Harry George.
So that was used as the excuse.
That was used as the, well, excuse or whatever, as the means, and so to place Morris Bishop under house arrest. Because it was claimed that he was spreading a rumor that Luke Bonnet could and his wife wanted to kill him and what and what. So he was placed under house arrest somewhere around between the 9th and 12th of October 1983
All right.
at Mount Welldale, his residence.
Now, the Prime Minister is under house arrest.
Yes.
What starts to take place? You as a soldier,
Yes.
you're up in Fort Frederick?
Yeah, well,
Not Fort Frederick,
well,
you're up at...
yeah,
Fort-
attached to Region 1, but
Region 1.
by that time, our unit, together with an infantry unit, had moved to Queen's Park in a building owned by Paul Roberts' father, right at the back, somewhere at the back of Gravel and Concrete, or where Bureau Standard is,
Yeah.
where the central garage. At the back there was a building, a house there that we used to house a portion of the artillery and infantry weaponry and so for quick mobilization of the
why were you
militias
all
and so.
moved?
No, we are moved, I mean, before that. But it was part of a plan that for the militia, because remember, we had militia, they were not permanent. But instead of having the weapons and so in one centralized place, right around the island, there were different areas that were militia headquarters, right? Where there were soldiers manning and controlling, but it was used for the distribution and mobilization of the different militia units around the country. So that was one of them. And myself, Llewellyn Archibald, warrant officer, and two other soldiers were placed there, right? And so.
So you're placed there.
Yes. So
What the soldiers hear all this thing going on. The Prime
Yes.
Minister has been placed under house arrest. What is going through the minds of
the average
Devron
soldier.
Callis and the rest of the unit? What is going through your minds?
Right. Well, I can speak for me and to let's I think some of the soldiers. Persons were troubled, they were confused, they wanted to understand what was going on. What the army and the party did during that 2 weeks, they went on a drive, different places, and so trying to meet with the different party comrades, persons within the village, militias, and so trying to explain to them what was the rationale for putting Morris Bishop on the house arrest. Right? Persons like Lieutenant Colonel Ewart Lane, Bogo Cornwall, key leading party figures were going around the country trying to sensitize and to trying to make people understand why Morris Bishop was placed under house arrest and so the reasons, blah, 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 whatever went on.
You think the average Grenadier now was accepting that?
No. From the onset, from the time you place the leader of the country or the revolution under house arrest, all hell broke loose, right? And so there was uneasiness within the armed forces, and so persons, they were, for example, in our unit, right, at River Road, about 2 or 3 days before the October 19th, all of the militia weapons were removed from there and brought back to the strategic location at Fort Frederick, because the military figured that, look, if the militia was in support, or the people was in support, which the militia came from, of the Prime Minister, and something like a revolt or anything happened, the weapons are accessible to the militia and other persons, so they can move and take it. So the military moved all the weapons from the different militia headquarters was moved back to central locations.
And these are in the immediate days
before October
19th.
Yes.
So
Right?
that was not only from one, that was all the militia locations.
All, especially areas in which they felt was most sympathetic, and so.
Like
Now,
St. Paul's.
Yes, St. Paul's, for example, even St. David's, well, River Road, where we were, and everything like that. And so, now, also during that time, there were a series of party meetings, right? General body of the party, and so met, where all the party members, would have met, and so, including 2 of our prominent politicians today, right? Including Senator Nazim Burke, Senator Peter David, because they were young revolutionaries also, and they were also members of the NGM party. So the party would have been meeting in Butler House and different places, trying to get the majority of party members to understand what was going on, right? And so, but as
What position would both men have held around this time?
Well,
You said they were party members.
yeah, they were party members, but they were low-level party members, basically, like ordinary party members, and so not members of the executive or anything like that, or the central committee or political bureau, right? They were low-level party members, ordinary party
But
members.
Senator Burke would have been the Minister of Finance.
Senator Buck would have been the Minister of Finance because
Up until October 19th
up until
at least.
October 19th at least, from around the 12th of October to the 19th, right? He would have been there because, as it was said by Bernard Code, he was a young, brilliant economist or so, and he wanted to ensure that young people within the revolution had positions and were given experience to things. So within the Ministry of Finance, he was identified as one of the one who was, quote unquote, had what it takes and was a party loyalist. Most important.
But your Prime Minister is under house arrest.
Your Prime Minister is under house arrest.
The nation is in chaos.
Yes. And he was elevated to the position of Finance Minister. And so, all right.
I will reserve comment on that one part.
So,
The outsider today.
so the party had several meetings, Butler House, different places, and it was said too that the level of support
Before you go forward, you're saying Butler House. Some of the young persons who may be listening don't even know where Butler House is or was.
Butler House or the old Islander Hotel. It's situated right at the top of Port Louis, where Port Louis is at the bottom. That hill, right, where you see one or two houses there overlooking the harbor. That hill on top there, that is where Islander Hotel, it was formerly known, but during the revolution, it was renamed Butler House.
Right, and somebody not so young in their 30s or 40s may remember it as the ruins.
As the ruins.
Yeah.
Right, because it was bombed, that thing and burnt.
It was bombed.
Yeah, to the ground and so. And there was one of the places where the party had a lot of his would have meet. I think that was one of the headquarters of the headquarters of the party. And so Butler House. Most of all party operations, functions was there and everything, and so.
All right, because we say Butler House and some of them may be wondering, but what are you talking about?
Yes,
So, right, that was Butler House. So the meeting was going on.
Yeah, all the meetings and was going on. And so there were a lot of disagreements and so. Right? And you could have felt, because I was not privy to these meetings, but from information from the senior members of the military, you could have felt the tension within the leadership as to where this thing goes. Some were adamant that this was it. Maurice Bishop was under house arrest and we were removing him totally. Some were adamant of that. He being removed because of the whole leadership thing. The whole question of, he was a weak leader, and this all sorts of things came out during that time by party members to justify his house arrest and for his removal from the party and leadership. And so, but that did not stick. Eventually, a couple of days or so, or a day or two before, there was renegotiations with Maurice Bishop and so by Lieutenant Colonel Ewart Lane and other leaders to find a compromise solution, because by that time the people of Grenada was beginning to get edgy. The militia, most of them, was beginning to get mad because it's the leader and there was no rational explanation for his house arrest and everything like that,
Okay.
So they were beginning to, all where you pass, the tension in the different ministries, the police station, you could have felt the tension in the air by persons. And the leaders of the revolution realized that. And so, boy.
All right. We're gonna take a short break. I realize what started up with the one. So I'm gonna take a short break. We'll take a short one and be right back.
Time is now. Cause I can't wait no longer. So let's live in one and share the love and just stand firm.
Just saying a very special good morning to all of you on the live. Errol, Sonia, Zephyrin, Jen, Manda, Soldier Man, good morning to each and every one of you. I'm seeing Meryl, Mary, I'm seeing Flavors, Vanessa, Patsy as usual, Mohammed, I'm seeing Hazel. Good morning to each and every one of you. We hope that all of you, Ellen, we hope that all of you are having a wonderful day today. Well, I know for some people, whenever this day comes around, it's not a wonderful day for them at all.
It's not.
So remember, there is that ceremony. It happens every year by the October 19th Matters Foundation. We have a caller online. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller. Yes, we're hearing you. Good morning.
Mr. Scott, I'm not hearing you at all.
But we're hearing you, man.
We're hearing you now.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Mr. Scott.
But
Try calling back.
you go right ahead, man.
I'm not hearing you. Keep having that problem.
Oh, boy.
I could see that you answer, but I'm not hearing a word.
Boy. Oh, goodness. Yeah, and that's the Hitman Inspector himself, you know. You're not hearing us.
No, you're not.
Oh, boy, no, he's not hearing us. We'll call him back in a little while because we're trying to, I know he has a story that he wants to tell.
Persistence, we will get you, boss.
Let's see if we could get him. Let's try. Let's see if we can get him here. I don't know what seems to be the problem.
Yeah. But folks, remember to share the live, get involved in the discussion, make your comments, and so wherever you are, feel free to make your comments. If you, in your view, disagree with some of the things that I'm saying, hey, free to chime in and give your 2 pence.
Yeah, and also if you want to give your story, I've been looking at Facebook this morning, and it's a wonderful thing when you're able to see all of the statements, different people that would have gone through different things, and they're able to see what has been happening.
Exactly.
Again, as a nation, we continue to have that one particular failure where we do not teach this particular period of our history in our schools. And as such, the young persons who are out there, they have very little understanding of any of what would have taken place
during that period.
And we're going to try here again. Let's try one more time.
So again, hey, chime in, make your comments, share with us. It's a day that Grenadians, should sit down and reflect, and so of what went on that historic day, 34 years ago. The time now is about 10:45. At this point in time, 34 years ago, there were thousands of Grenadians marching towards Mount Weldale to free their leader. Thousands of Grenadians, including school children.
Let's go forward a bit then.
Yes.
March the 13th. Not March the 13th. October 19th. Yes. Yeah, these dates does kind of,
October 19th.
October 19th. In fact, I dial back a little bit. October 18th. Where were you? What were you doing?
Right. October 18th.
Were there protests on the 18th?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Were
there protests on the 17th?
Sorta, not have they, escalated. The heavy protests really started on the Tuesday, right? The Tuesday before the Wednesday, October 19th. Mm-hmm. And so that's when the protest started. It started basically in St. Andrews, Grenville to be precise.
So
right?
Labe people started thing.
Yes, and led by some of the student leaders, one including the late Gemma Belma. Mm-hmm. God bless her soul. She led young students, man, to demonstrate through the streets of Grenville to the airport, and so chanting for "We want a leader."
Mm-hmm. So she would have started that.
She would have started that on that day, mm-hmm. And there were other pockets of thing in St. George's. There were persons, and so Unison Whiteman, and so would have been in St. George's, moving around with a number of persons with placards around the market square, and so, mm-hmm. Right. By that time, Radix would have been under house arrest. Cletus St. Paul would have been under house arrest. Unison, George Louison would have been under house arrest.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we're getting through. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I think we have a definite problem with that.
Yeah, it seems to be a problem with the overseas line. Let's try the local line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Morning, Mr. Sheldon.
Morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Sheldon.
Morning. Just pay attention to us on the phone line. Go right ahead.
Morning, Mr. Sheldon.
Yes.
Morning, Mr. Sheldon.
Okay. All right. When you're ready, you give us a call back.
Yes.
When you call, pay attention to us on the phone line. You can't be listening to radio and have a conversation with us, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so give us, speak to us on the phone.
Yes.
All right? Because you're going to just keep repeating yourself. And no one will be able to hear what you're saying after a while because we got to cut the call. All right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying on the 18th, there were pockets of demonstration, especially in St. Andrews, and so the demonstration, was there. It was beefed up and everything like that, and the nation took hold of it on October 19th.
Oh, and let's try again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, caller.
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead. Good morning.
Yes, how are you? Sheldon, Devon.
Good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk a little bit of, where I was and what I was doing on the 19th of October. And I remember as if it was yesterday, I were in GTVI, that's at the time, right now where
National College is at.
The college is right now.
Yeah.
And after the 18th, hearing about the demonstration in Grenville, and with my cousins, Gemma was my cousin, Belma, and all that was happening in Grenville, we decided, and at the time, that we were gonna, join in if they come down to St. George's. And I remember the morning of the 19th, a bunch of us, we decided, well, we going, and I remember getting out on the sidewalk, right on the sidewalk from the pavement, right in front of the school, and everybody joined in, and high school came down because it was opposite, and then we decided we're going to march up and go up to, at the time it was Government House, wherever that was. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah, we're listening you. We're here. We're listening you. Go right ahead.
Yes, we went up there, and it was a march, and we went up there. I was, I had my plaque card. I was, part of the group, and we decided, well, we're going to free our leader. And we got in there. We got up, the door. There were soldiers up there. A lot of soldiers, they were standing by. But, we had a bullhorn, and they were saying, the guns are not supposed to be used on the masses. The guns are not supposed to be used on the masses. So the soldiers, they stand back, they, and they let us come in, and we went up, and we addressed them, told them that we came, to free the leader. And I remember they stood there and said, well, this is a military place, and we're not supposed to be here. And then a couple of the students that was there decided to push the gate in, and, storm the gate and run into the building. And I was standing back because I didn't go forward. I was standing back. I was standing on on the side, and I saw, the soldier that was standing in front. He had his gun, and he started firing. Bullets in the air, and I saw the branches, falling down and coming down. And I said, well, this is not good. Somebody's gonna die here. And I remember somebody on the bullhorn saying, this is blank bullets. Don't run. Don't be afraid. Don't run, brothers and sisters. This is blank bullets. Don't run. Don't be afraid. They cannot turn the gun on the masses. So I was like, okay, well, I'm seeing branches falling down. I'm seeing, I don't think that's blank bullets. So I was scared. I decided I'm going to go back down the road. So I started running down the road, back down to the main road. And on my way to the main road, I met that's when I met my cousin Gemma, and the people from Convent and SAS and everybody. They joined us, and we went up. And then I remember when they pushed the gate over, and I remember this girl from St. George's. She got trapped under the gate. We pulled the gate up. Remember helping pull the gate up, get her out, help them put her on a Land Rover and take her to the hospital. And they went inside the building, took Bishop out, and I could still see his face, and he was pale and he was shocked, but he was had his fist in his ear, and he was saying power to the people. And he came out, and we got him on the Land Rover and was heading down. But all along, I was saying to myself, why are they going to they said it was going to go to the market square, and he's going to address the people from there. And I'm saying to myself, well, and then they started to say, well, we're going to go to the fort and get him cleaned up and then come back to the market square. And I'm saying to myself, why are they going to the fort? This is the military headquarters. Why are they going up there? But they said they was going to go. So I was living on St. John Street at the time, the Pink House. And I remember going home, living the procession when they went to the market and they went up on the fort, and I went home. And one of my friends called. He said, listen, the Prime Minister is going to be addressing the nation from, on the fort. So it's like, let's go. So I said, no, I don't want to go up there. There's guns up there, man. I was scared of guns, He said, there's guns up there. I don't think we should go. And he said, no, let's go, man. Everything is good. So I left. I went up there, got up there, walked around, saw a couple of my friends. My brother, my youngest brother was there. I saw him. I saw my friends from Convent, Daphne Goodins, Devon, you should know her, all my friends. And, we were just talking. Hello?
Yeah, we there.
We're here, man. We're listening.
Okay. All right.
We're quiet.
And we
We're
were
listening.
talking, and I left the back of the building, and I proceeded to the front because I was looking for my brother. And as soon as I got to the front of the building, I saw this armored car coming up the hill, and there was a soldier was standing up from the hole, and I heard boom, and I saw that big flash of light, and I said, well, okay, that's it. I'm dead. And, and I started running to the back of the building now. And I saw one of my friends. He died. He got trampled on. And I was like, oh, my God. And the same person with the bullhorn said, don't be afraid. This is blank bullet. They cannot turn the guns on the masses. And I said to myself, that is not blank bullet. Look at my friend. He's dead. I saw him. His eyes was turned. He had a dreadlocks, and he was on the ground, and everybody was just trampling over him. I looked at him and I said, he's dead. I got to the back of the building where there was some cars parked, and I jumped over. I jumped up on the hood of the cars and went over to the other side, and I looked down. And I climbed up over the rock, and I looked down, and it was almost 30 or more feet. And there was a big tree, big Google tree in the bottom. And I said, well, if I aim for the tree, it's going to bring me down slowly. I jumped, got on that Google tree, and it got on the branch, brought me down. The only thing that happened, I got some bruises on my arms. I got some bruises, there was a picker on there, some bruise, and started running. Listen, man, while I was running, going down to the back of the fort now, I saw two of my classmates. One had a bullet in his back. The other one had a bullet, I think was on her shoulder or side somewhere. And I was like, yo, you got shot. And he just fainted. I ran. Then I saw another brother. I still remember him. And I was like, I saw him, and he's on his side, and his arms, inside his arm was white. Like all the flesh, was just so white. And I told him, I said, listen, you're bleeding. You got shot. And he looked at me and he just fainted. he went right down, and I was running. I ran down on the Carenage, and I live on St. John Street. I wanted to go home, but I was so scared. I run on the Carenage, run around the Carenage, went down to Tantine, and come back on the top street. I don't remember what the name of that street is. But I went on the top street, run all the way back to up by the church, and run down Market Hill, actually. Run down Market Hill, run up Cockroach Alley, run straight into the Pink House, and I went under my bed. I stayed there for a few days. And this was, I only came up on my knees and looked out my window. And when I look out the window, I saw a hot gunshot. I saw people jumping still jumping from the fort. People running down the middle with their hands up in the air, running. And I was like, well, I'm staying inside here because I know they're going to come for me because I was so scared.
Thank God you're alive today.
A few minutes after, after most of the people came out from the fort, I heard a couple gunshots. And I was like, okay, that's it. I guess they kill Bishop and they kill everybody else. But it was just and I was like, oh my God, I guess that's it. And I stayed under my bed for 2 days, just coming out to eat and going back. Coming out just to eat and then going back.
What I experienced.
Stayed under my bed, came out, eat something, and go right back. I was so scared. Listened to the radio and everything. And I never forget, when they gave the break, the curfew break, I ran down on St. John Street to the end, right where the bus terminal is right now, and I met one of the guys from Birch Grove, and he said he'll be leaving in a few minutes to head up to Birch Grove so I could get a ride with him. And I I went home, took my bag, jumped on that Land Rover, and we were speeding over the hills because the curfew was almost about to end. And we speed over the hills, and I went to Birch Grove and met my brother, and I was so glad that he was alive. I didn't know anything, didn't know who died. I had no clue what was happening because I was under my bed. And after that, stayed in Birch Grove, but I was worried about the people, my friends in Granborough, and I got a ride after that, went down to Granborough. I saw my friends, and I realized that they were okay. And I stayed there until the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And, my cousin Gemma, she got shot, and she was in the hospital, and then she died there. And it was very sad. But that's basically what I remember about the day. But I'll never forget, running so fast. Usain Bolt wouldn't have anything on me because I was running so fast. I was, speeding across the Carenage and coming back and dashing, But it was a scary day. Thank God that he kept me alive, to now.
I know you're alive to give the story.
Huh?
And at least you're alive to give the story so that others will know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank you so very much, Zephyrin, for joining us this morning.
Yes.
All right.
My pleasure.
And thank you very much for your contribution.
All right.
Indeed. Devon, night before October 18th, where were you? What were you doing?
Okay. October 18th, and so that was the last day that I basically I attended a couple of the meetings around the St. George's by some of the party leaders, as to what was going on.
In what capacity?
I was a soldier, but always go in military. I just remind you, since from that time, Sheldon was a very defiant young man. Any one of the persons, especially persons like Ewart Lane, will tell you, even when as a soldier, while they were going around, Queen's Park in particular, explaining to people, as a soldier, I stood up in the meeting and basically challenged my chief. Question him as to why Maurice Bishop was under house arrest and the whole question of joint leadership. I mean, it was a scary thing to do. But, I mean, the fear just left me, and I had to do it. I mean, I was almost in trouble for that. But, I mean, the next day was October 19th. The 19th of October, Sheldon.
So the night you would have spent the night going around to different meetings in your
Yes.
capacity as a soldier?
As a soldier.
So
Still
you
as a
just security?
Just moving and in civilian.
Yourself with others?
Yeah, one or two other persons, and so not within
civilian
the
way?
yes, not within the confines of the military. I told you I was very defiant around that time.
Okay.
You know, and so but I mean,
So
some
generally,
of the leaders
military discipline would have started to fall apart in some units at that point in time.
Yeah.
In some units.
yes, in some units, right? And so
Because different soldiers would have been taking
oh
different
yeah,
positions.
some soldiers left their post and their unit and so on, went home. And so you find little pockets of that. But, you know, the majority of soldiers stood there because a couple of days before they put an entire block on all soldiers taking pass. Restrict everybody, basically, from leaving. All the permanent units, like the permanent battalion, motorized unit, anti-aircraft, anti-tank mortar. All these units, they were put on basically high alert. So persons were restricted from leaving. So there were limited movements by soldiers. Who went out and so on, they went to look for them who couldn't find whatever. It was basically coming down to a chaotic situation. Right? And so.
All right. So the night there were various meetings and so.
Yes.
Sunrise. October 19th.
October 19th.
Where was Devon? What was Devon doing?
Devon, at least known as that time, now Devon Romaine. I slept at the base in Queen's Park. And so, and I woke the morning with a sense of purpose. Something is about to take place. I didn't know what, but I had to be part of it. When about 8 o'clock, after 8, I dressed, khaki pants, a khaki top, pistol in my waist, everything, and I went to St. George's. Curious to know what was happening, knowing that the demonstration took place in St. George's in St. Andrews the day before, and it was planned, right, by persons circulating that it would have some demonstration to the day, today the 19th. So curious as to
in St. George.
In St. George.
So there wasn't a protest in St. George on the 18th.
No.
It was in St. Andrews.
St. Andrews was a big protest. In
St. Patrick?
Well, St. Patrick's perhaps. I'm not too sure. St. George's, there were little pockets. I said Unison White Man and so was moving around the town, whipping up support and encouraging persons to stand up against the leaders, the other leaders, and so on, support Maurice Bishop. So that laid the foundation for October 19th. Went to St. George's, and you could have felt people if you stand here with one or two persons, eventually 20 seconds after, it would have been about 10 or 15 of you standing there. So imagine around the town, pockets of groups were just building up, and eventually Unison White Man and other leaders, and so Bain, the Belma Girl, the Grenville crew came down, the GBSS.
How did they come down?
Well, they came down with trucks and buses and vans.
Where they got the trucks and so?
Man, there were so many government trucks.
So the government trucks, so the people just requisition.
Yes, they basically just take it. Drivers, because they were going to free their leader. And by the time 9, 10 o'clock, it was thousands of people around St. George's. And all you could have heard the sentiment and people, we're going for a leader. That was it. And all you could have seen, I was at the bottom, looking at people just heading up Lucas Street to Mount Welldale. But I had to follow. Eventually found myself right in the mix in front of the gate.
Is that people? Is it the average people, the school children?
Average
Who is it?
persons, the average Grenadian, business people, school children, teachers, public workers, farmers. They were marching towards Mount Welldale, going up to on Lucas Street. I mean, it was a sight. When you stand on Market Hill and you look up, you could have barely see an empty space moving up. Well, I found myself up there again, as a soldier, could have moved through and everything like that. And the sentiment of the people in front of the residence of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, that We want we leader. We find we leader. We want we leader. And chanting and chanting. Well, the crowd started, they realized that nobody was responding. So they moved towards the entrance itself to root up the gate and everything like that, to bypass soldiers and everything. And while they were moving forward and attempting to uproot things, there were soldiers within the, same thing Jeffrey was talking about, soldiers within the confines. They were firing in the air. It wasn't blanks, but it was live ammunition, anti-aircraft and light pistol and so. Pow, 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 and you could have seen the branches and so falling down. And all you could have seen, Sheldon, was the crowd reversing for about 5 seconds. And then you could have feel like an earthquake moving forward. Hundreds of people just decided, we go in and take Morris Bishop. They bend all the gates in front. There was a guard hut, they capsized it. Soldiers was on a BTR right on the entrance. They didn't interfere with them or anything like that. The soldier was just sitting there, and the people moved straight up to the entrance, opened the door, take out the leader, and brought him out. And from the way I was standing, you could have seen Morris Bishop, right, in the air. He was not walking. Persons were handing him to one another, coming down in the air until he reached a certain area where they put him down and he started walking. By that time, the soldiers, basically they stood there, who were guarding the compound and everything. And so they stood there. They really couldn't do nothing. Because person was telling them, you can't turn the gun against the people, And the soldiers were there. Well, eventually, Morris Bishop was placed in a green Mazda car. I think it was PB8 or P8 or something like that. Right in front of Berean Church on Lucas Street. Right there. He was placed in that vehicle. He was in one, and then they switched him from that to that one. And the sentiments of persons who was around him, let's take the leader to the market square. That was the sentiment. And the vehicle basically left off and whatever, and it went down. By the time I get down on the top of Market Hill, I could have heard people saying, well, things set up in the market square, you had a loudspeaker, persons were waiting. But then there was another part of the crowd that saying, they bring the man on the fort. They bring the man on the fort. Well, I headed up there as a soldier, and I wanted to be there. and by the time I reached the fort was already overwhelmed with civilians, right? Civilians were basically taking weapons from the soldiers, wrapping them, pushing them aside, taking weapons from them and everything like that. Yeah, that was true.
Civilians were placing soldiers under manners on a military installation.
On a military installation. And that is very important for persons to note. Right? It is not hearsay. That's the thing that I saw. And as a soldier, I knew it was wrong. But being that is me, the masses came out, and for whatever reason, they felt that they were right. The leader was brought to the fort. Right? I found myself at the top in the ops room, the operations room, where basically the headquarters was. And there was Morris Bishop, a number of other high-ranking military officers like Redhead and Stroud and Prime, Podgy Sherburne, Bogman, and so they were there inside of the operations room together with Morris. Now, mind you, at that time, Morris Bishop was not himself as yet. He was just recovering. Whatever happened to him before, I can't see. It was alleged.
You mentioned Morris. Was it Morris alone that was taken out? Was it Morris alone that was brought down? Or who was with him?
Well, about 2 or 3 days before, while he was under house arrest, Jacqueline Kreff wanted to see him, right, for whatever reason. And she was told once she get there, she could not leave. So basically, it was both of them that was there. Whether the people take her out the same time as him, but she was not with him on his way towards the fort. She get to the fort after, that whatever convoy and whatever.
So she was not in the car with him going out? No,
she
was not taken out with him at the same time?
No. If she was taken
so
out...
it was only Maurice that was taken out?
Yeah, if she was taken out, she was not paraded or brought down with the crowd together with him. Because the crowd only wanted Morris Bishop. That was just clear. Well, eventually on the fort, and so when I arrived there, seeing the situation, it was overwhelmed. The operations room was taken over by civilians.
So you were up in the operations
I
room.
went up to the operations room. As a soldier, I was fearless. I was going up there anyways. Went inside there, greet some of the officers was there, and just listening around and so. Now, while we were there, a team of nurses came up. I think Ann Peters, former Senator Ann Peters, was one of them. About 10 or 11 of them, all of them in white and light blue and white, came up with different, things, medical things and so, and came straight up to the ops room because apparently it was reported that Morris Bishop wasn't feeling well and whatever. And they came, they put him sit down and attended to him. While all of that was going on and so, he was basically recovering and whatever. When that gentleman recovered, and how I knew he recovered, first thing he asked for is a cigarette. He wanted a cigarette to smoke because he was a very hard smoker. And so, and when I saw that, I said, yeah, the chief is back. Well, in discussion, persons were there and so, and he was chatting with one of the persons. One of the first orders that Morris Bishop gave as commander-in-chief up there.
This is what you heard.
Yeah,
you
and I
were
was there.
And you heard.
And
This
I
is not
heard that.
second-hand or third-hand
No
information.
third hand, second hand, whatever information. First hand. He called to Major Stroud, who was at that time the chief of the fort. He was not a duty officer. I think it was Lieutenant Sherbin was the duty officer responsible for the day-to-day. But Major Stroud was the most senior officer at the fort at that point in time. He called out to him, Major Stroud, could you go and collect all the weapons from all the soldiers that is on the fort, lock them up in the armory, and return the key for me? And Major Stroud replied, yes, Chief, get up, got the keys, went with one or two other persons, civilians, and about two other soldiers, did exactly what was told. What the weapons he could have gathered from soldiers who weapons were not taken away by civilians, get them together, locked it, and came back. When he came back to the ops room, Vincent Noel approached him and told him to give him the key for the armory. And he said, no. He said, I have orders from the commander-in-chief to return the key for him. And Major Stroud did exactly that. Mind you, these senior officers also were disarmed there. Major Stroud, Captain Redhead, Prime. The only two soldiers that had a weapon in that ops room was Lieutenant Hippolyte Bogman and myself.
The late Lieutenant
Bogman and myself. Because he was adamant nobody is going to take his weapon away from him. He was assigned that weapon, his pistol and his AKS, and nobody's going to take it from him. And so said, so done.
And how come they didn't take your weapon from you?
Well, I had my pistol, and I was a soldier. I wasn't giving it up either. You understand? So they didn't really ask me for it, but they knew I had it. Because at one point I took it out, sit down on a chair, and had it right there. Because at one time they say I was Morris Bishop security. That's another story. Anyhow, so after that transpired and everything like that, the leader began to catch himself. He started, issuing little directives and so and everything like that. And one of the things that he said distinctly inside there, he was talking to the senior military persons there. The army, the military will continue as usual, but without headache and bogo. Meaning Lieutenant Colonel Ewart Lane and Major Cornwall, who were two senior members of the party and military officers. He specifically pointed out those two persons. The army will continue without those two. And at that time, Sheldon, the mood of the military officers just changed. I sensed it because of the military, I sensed it, and that was it. Well, things continue. There was a phone call coming from Fort Frederick to Fort Rupert by then Commissioner of Police Eon St. Bernard, who called to find out about the situation and speak to Morris Bishop. And he was told, right, by Vincent Noel that, look, there is no negotiations. The best thing for you is to surrender yourself to the nearest police station. And he was told that. Imagine the commissioner of police was told that by, in my view, a civilian. Well, he was a party member, but he was a civilian.
He was a trade unionist.
A trade unionist, but a party official also, right? And that was, and I mean, everybody in the ops room who were there. There were 20-something of us there in the 2 rooms, because there was a door between the 2, like here, you know? And so, and persons were listening to that, and everything like that, and things started to, you see, there's no negotiations, no compromise, right? Go to the nearest police station, and how can you be doing that? And remember, you're on a military installation, the headquarters of the military, with all the documents for the defense of the country, security, right?
All of your defense plans.
All of your defense plans.
Your secrets of the army and everything.
Everything.
So we've gotten to this stage now.
Yes.
There are about 20 of you in the ops room.
Yes, could be a little bit more.
What is going on immediately outside the ops room?
Right.
Because knowing the fort as I do, there is the veranda there,
right,
and then
that
there's
corridor
the
with the
yard.
veranda. Yes.
What is taking place in all those areas?
Yeah, we are upstairs. Okay, you have to go up the stairs. Outside of there were a number of civilians who had weapons, who did not.
About what figure? What figure of persons?
Could be about in excess of 50 persons on that corridor. People were just ramming there just to get to Morris Bishop.
That's on the corridor outside of
the room itself, on the
right.
upstairs. Right? So imagine that narrow corridor, that length had all that amount of people. And then there was a step to go downstairs to the communication room and so. The persons was all over. Persons who were not supposed to be there. And
armed as well.
Oh yeah, armed as well. Right? And while inside, and so, the door was slightly open for a while. Things became tension inside there and everything. Like Morris Bishop, Prime Minister, became himself and started to give directives as to who to do that. He was about, well, he spoke to one foreign official. I think it was one of the prime ministers in the Caribbean. I didn't know exactly who it was. And he told them, look, that things are under control and he will think. And then
it would be very interesting to find out who that prime minister
was. Well, he was a leader of a country that he was speaking to. And then he called to Don Rojas. Don Rojas was the press secretary at that time to Morris Bishop, to the prime minister. He called him and he gave him directives to go to Cable and Wireless, right? Go to Cable and Wireless and to get in touch with a number of diplomats and other leaders around the Caribbean internationally, and tell them that the situation is under control. He's back as prime minister and everything. I'm telling you things that I heard him said. So he was confident that everything.
So Don Ross wasn't there physically. He phoned him.
No. Don Ross was there.
He was there physically.
He was there
when he gave him
and
that.
He gave him that instruction, right. And he left. He left and he went down. That is how Don Ross escaped. Okay, that is how he escaped from the whole thing itself.
And all of this you're talking about now is about what time in the morning?
Could be around, I think morning I was already going after 12, close to minutes to 1, around that time there. Sheldon, it was about that around that time, right? Around early afternoon. And so, while the discussions and the commotion were going on in and out of side, all of a sudden you heard persons from outside saying, look at the BTR coming, look at the soldiers coming and everything. In the excitement,
Excited in a good way.
Well, he excited in a good way because they figured that the soldiers were coming there to protect and do everything. Some was of a different opinion, right? And so, but on approaching, by the time the first armored vehicle was at the front, Connie Mears, Officer Cadet Connie Mears, who was the leader of the mission, from the time he approached the coming up of the fort on that little piece of hill there, the first gunshot was fired. The first gunshot that was fired was from a pistol, a Makarov, one of the Soviet-made pistols, 9mm. That was the first shot I heard, and a number of other persons heard, went off. Pow! And a few seconds after that, you hear a short burst of automatic fire. And everybody start panicking inside there. No. And then you hear that loud boom, like it was a rocket propelled grenade, rocket launcher. One of the soldiers fired it and hit against the building and everything like that. And
So at this point, there's a BTR. What other vehicles
there
are
were
there?
two BTR,
Two
and,
BTR.
and a truck, military, right, that came on that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There were about 2 or 3 other vehicles in the yard. One was burning. It was said it was a car, black car, and it was also said that that was the finance minister car at that point in time. That is what it was said. The finance minister at the present time, that was his car.
Where was the car?
On the fort, right in front at the bottom, there's a
Bottom level.
yeah, bottom level. And so the car was there. There was a truck, one of the military trucks there packed, and another vehicle that was there. That vehicle was on fire because it was hit, I think, by one of the rocket propelled grenades or whatever, and it caught a fire. They said that was the former finance minister's car, and I was in Burke. That was the talk, anyways. But that was besides the point. And the chaos started. When people started running helter-skelter, and all you could have hear is the guns just blazing. Boom, boom. And persons were screaming and bawling. Now, to all of us who were inside of the ops room, the leadership, both military and civilian, including Morris Bishop, took cover, we lie down. Now, there was one guy, I always have to remind him about that, While we were inside there lying, taking cover inside of the ops room on the height, he was lying there, firing an AK through the door, as if he could have shoot somebody or soldiers down at the bottom. In terms of the elevation, where he would have been shooting, he's lying here and he's shooting this way. But the soldiers and swords in the bottom, so in no way he could have. And
so it's just like a desperate move.
Exactly. And Lieutenant Hippolyte had to grab him and say, "What are you doing?" Pull him down. He's still alive, a gentleman. He lives in St. Paul's. Yes. And so, and I don't really want to call his name on.
What were the actions of the other persons in the room at this time? You all are under fire. Various types of fire, because from what you're describing now, it's automatic rifle fire,
Pistol fire, BTR fire, heavy machine gun fire,
grenades,
hand grenades, propel grenades, that's rocket launcher, shoulder rocket launchers, and so all these things took place.
They were being fired at the ops room.
At the ops room.
Okay.
So the intention was clear. After that first shot was fired, mind you, when that first shot was fired, that first shot killed or shot Officer Cadet Mays, who was in charge of the mission. When he fell, right after he fell, and that is what I was told by a soldier who was there, right? When he fell, about 2 minutes after, one Officer Cadet Mason, right, the Inspector or Superintendent Mason, police, his younger brother, right? He fell, got shot too, and fell. Cameron, right, who was the first Groovy Monarch in Grenada, Calypsonian, Cameron, he was shot also too, and they were soldiers, doggies. They were soldiers on the first BTR.
So Doggies was a soldier.
Doggies was a soldier. He came on the mission. He was shot. Even notice he have a limp. That is from that. Basically, almost got his foot mashed up.
Why is it though that having spoken to one soldier, and I'm sorry that we couldn't have gotten him on the program today, who would have been one of those that removed the body of Connie Mears?
Well, no, the body of Connie Mears, he didn't die on the spot.
But that take him down.
And brought him to the hospital, yeah.
That it seemed as though he was shot from the back.
No, he could not. Could not. And I will put, and it's not a good thing to do, but I will put my life on the line for that. The first shot that was fired from Fort Rupert was a pistol shot from the balcony. I could identify, yes, and I could identify the person who did it. and everything like that. I mean, it was no secret, right? And Connie made, because he was on top of the BTR, right at the front, and he was shot and fell. He fell. They were soldiers, because you remember, they were approaching the fort, right? And I'm sure about that. Very much.
Connie was in charge of
the entire mission.
The mission.
Although he was the junior officer of the 3 on that mission, he was in charge because of his experience, because he was a member of the U.S. military and served in Germany and all that. So he had some experience in that kind of, city preparation, combat, and so. So he was in charge of that mission. I know that because the person who gave the mission told me that. And it came out in the court. Right? The mission who gave the mission and everything like that.
So Connie has been shot.
Connie has
Mason
been shot.
has been shot.
Mason has been shot.
Turkey, not Turkey.
How they
keep
call
saying
him?
Turkey.
Cameron was shot.
Doggies has
been shot. And by that time, the firing commenced, because when soldiers saw soldiers falling, firing started. So it was a combination of firing from both sides that caused so much people to die on the fort. And when I say so much, not exaggerating as persons who say hundreds died on the fort. No, I was incorrect. Understand?
There's no possible way hundreds of Canadians would die and you can identify
and you can identify who they are and everything like
We're
that.
a small country.
You understand? So the chaos basically started around that time. But while in that upstream, that was very significant.
And before you go further, Depot is not that we're ignoring you all on the live. We will be taking a short break and address many of Depot has been posting some questions there.
Yes.
And some other persons have been saying some stuff on the live. Morning, Minister. And several other persons have been saying stuff on the live here. We're not ignoring you. We're just making sure that this story flows, and then we'll take a short break and address some of the questions, and so that you're posting. Any of you that would like to go onto the live and post your questions to Devon, not to me. You can do so. I was nowhere wrong. I was watching this thing on TV.
And I will do my best to answer.
I wasn't even old enough to be involved, even if I was here. So I was nowhere involved.
And answer truthfully. But Deepu, I can answer your question though. I can identify at least two persons. Brad Bullen, Halen, Gotti Robinson. All those persons, they were, some of them were party, but they were loyal revolutionaries and so. But they were civilians at that day, and they had weapons. Together with a number of other civilians, they had weapons in their hand at the time persons went to the fort. Right? Vincent Noel, and a number of other persons that I can't, just identify they just so. But
you know them by face.
I know them by face.
By name.
Yes.
All right. Depot also asked on October 12th. Is another significant date, but he's asking the question if the St. Paul militia, the militia camp group in St. George, had armed themselves and issued threats to the Central Committee, if that is a true story, prior to the 19th.
Well,
and if that is one of the reasons, maybe because they would.
Yes, well, based on the information I was told. Now, it's a ticklish thing, because knowing that the Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, was from St. Paul's, right? He was living in St. Paul's at the time, from his mother body and so. And he built up, and also too, that was his parliamentary seat that he won in 1976.
Southeast,
So he was a popular person there in Southeast, just as Honorable Gregory Bowen is. Understand? And so the loyalty to Maurice Bishop, right, was there. And it was felt by the military that, look, seeing that St. Paul's militia was one of the most vibrant militia, and they were loyal, most of them were loyal to the Prime Minister, it was felt that, look, for security reasons, remove all the weapons. But it was also alleged that one or two persons were threatening to basically, as was said, liquidate some of the leaders for putting Maurice Bishop under house arrest. All right, this was alleged. I cannot confirm that, but that rumor or that position was basically said by persons.
Okay.
I can't say if it was true or not. But the weapons and so removed from St. Paul's with immediate effect when Maurice Bishop was put under house arrest.
Okay, so we are at the stage now. Firing is taking place. you're in the ops room.
Yes.
Um,
What is going on there?
you're crying like a baby. You pee yourself. You lie down on the floor.
Listeners, you didn't hear that, eh?
Bullets flying left, right, and center. Devon is cowering. You have a nervous breakdown. He's in the ops room. We're gonna take a short break at that point in time. Let me see if we could find that person I've been trying to find.
Of interest.
But let's just take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Time is now. Cause I can't wait no longer. So let's live in one. And share the love and just stand firm. What you gonna do now? Stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up, little island of Ethiopia. Stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up, stand firm. Now the time has come, and everyone has got to know the truth. There'll be no more isolating of I and I people. No. But first, you got to be together. Say, brothers and sisters, love each other. Tell me what you're gonna do. Stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up, little island of Ethiopia. Stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up, stand firm. There's the land I Father provide. Come, I dream. Come, I sister. There's work to be done. Some seeds I got to plant.
Yes, folks, we're still here.
Watch ya. I have.
Just trying to make contact with one or two persons who really want to give their story today. Eh? It's a very important part of our history, as they say. Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. Huh?
Yeah.
And I tell all you, Devon was wrong in nearly everything, you know.
Little island of Ethiopia.
And I think let's see. Let's take a call. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, quite fine.
Good. When they're going to make it a national holiday in Grenada for the killing of Maurice Bishop?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think many persons have been asking that from the same year itself. Persons have been asking that question. And I think it's something definitely that we as a people, everybody, we have to look at. And not just look at, because it's now 34 years.
He's a hero.
34
He's
years
my
after.
hero.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Right.
care who prime minister ever ruled Grenada again, we would never get a next one like him.
Mm-hmm. All right, and I definitely believe it is something that we as a people, we have to seriously look at. Yes, you're celebrating the 25th because of that being the point in time that persons' rights and freedoms were restored. But we also have to look at the 19th and what happened, not to celebrate it, but to remember it. We can't celebrate something like that, but we will remember what took place on that day 34 years ago today. All right?
Yeah, we have to do something. Put up
Okay.
a monument to him, do something. They put up one with Gary.
Mm-hmm.
So why they can't put up one with him?
Yeah, well, one day at a time, sweet Jesus, huh? Because I believe sooner or later you'll be seeing one to each of the prime ministers. I think that's the direction we have to head. All right?
Okay, and Brat was my best friend.
Okay, Brat was your best friend.
Yes.
Where were you on that day?
That morning I was in Trinidad, and he called me and tell me that it was getting ready to free the prime minister. Don't come back.
So you were in Trinidad?
Tell me, he said, wait, and you're going to hear from me that evening.
Mm-hmm. So that would have been the same morning.
Yeah.
So Brat would have phoned you and he told you, don't come.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
He
my
did.
dear. All right. Well, we'd like
And,
to...
you know, I think about him every day. I talk about him yesterday because we was real good friends.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Believe me. I could just imagine what some of you are going through. As I said, me personally, no way involved in it. I looked at the entire thing after the fact on television as a child. So I was a little child at that point. Little, very little.
You was
child.
a kid. I was a young woman. I was in my 20s then.
Okay. I would have been about 6, 7 somebody. I'd have been real small. All right. You're calling us
I wish they do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And I think
Because
that's...
we in America, but them in New York maybe do something, but I in North Carolina, and we don't really see a whole lot here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my friend, I would like to thank you for your call. And definitely, I believe what we're doing here today and what I realize has been happening in the last few years, especially with social media and everything, is more and more of what took place is coming out. And we'll continue the process, not just today when the 25th comes. We intend to do a program again on the 25th about what took place and so. So you could look forward to hearing some more. And I think that could be the genesis of exactly what you're asking for. The day itself being a holiday. The proper recognition of those who fell on that day. I think what we're doing now is a start. What you have just done is part of the genesis of that entire process. And we'd like to thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to see they have a celebration, something, do something, anything.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yes, calling, touching base from North Carolina. There are a lot of Grenadians in North Carolina, you know.
Hey,
Yeah,
good.
before we take any more calls, because we still at the ops room
Yes, the up room and after.
with bullets, bombs, grenades coming from both directions.
Direction. Well, at that time,
You're in a crouching position, and Devon wasn't crying and all kind of thing. No, that wasn't the case. You were in a crouching position. Or what position were you in?
well, when all the firing taking place and so, I took the position to the ground, lying
As a
flat,
soldier.
as a soldier,
Mhm.
ensuring that although we were not in danger of at the early stage of gunshots because of the elevation we were at the top.
Mhm.
And it's concrete, so you had to come from on the top to shoot inside, which eventually happened. Because while the firing was going on, eventually the soldiers took control of the entire fort.
The soldiers who had been disarmed.
Yeah, well, no.
Or the ones who came.
Both who were disarmed, right, and those who came.
Mhm.
Because those who were disarmed, when the others came, they grouped up to them, they were given weapons and so, and they started in terms of controlling the perimeter around the fort based on the mission that they were given, right? And so, now, by that time, the soldiers are taking control. We were still in the ops room, right, listening to firing and everything like that. And then we heard Morris Bishop in his voice call out to Lieutenant Hippolyte, Bogman, God bless his dead. Look, Bogman, you see what I tell you? They turned the guns on the masses. They turned the guns on the masses. That was one of his couple of his last words that he said inside of that room. Right? And from there onwards now, the chaotic situation inside there there were more women than men inside there. The nurses, whoever, and so was inside there. Now, inside of that ops room.
Children.
Well, not one or two school children, including Gemma Belma, who was
Also more like the leaders of his
yes,
of the students.
and so eventually she was shot. Right, she was sitting either on a chair or something, and she was shot in the head by a bullet that came out from the soldiers. Not well.
A ricochet.
Well, yes, I would say that, right, because no one was watching her straight so and shoot her. She was just in a position where the bullet came, and she got it. There was another lady inside of that ops room by, I think her name was Avis Ferguson, correct me anybody who was on. That was one of the most horrible sights inside of the ops room. Apparently either a hand grenade which was heaved inside or the propel grenade that was heaved inside of the ops room she apparently lay over it. That's all the conclusion I can came to. Where she was,
she went and lied on
well,
it.
either she fell on it, but she ended up directly under that piece of thing, and her entire back, her bottom, her back was blown away. And thank God that it happened only to her, because almost everyone inside of her room would have died from the shrapnels and everything from that, either the hand grenade or the propel grenade that was.
So she
sent
basically
inside.
saved your life
She basically saved all of us who didn't die on that October 19th life
in that room.
in that room. And so when you watch her, I mean, it was the second time I had the opportunity to see live intestines and organs of humans just so in front of me. I mean, persons like Ann Peters and Miss Bain, right? Norris Bain, late Norris Bain's wife, Yolande Bain Horsford, Honorable Yolande Bain Horsford mother, they would have been inside there also as part of the crew and so on. Who got shot? I think Miss Bain still have some shrapnel inside of her, and Peters, she got, I mean, some broken ribs and that sort of thing by the pushing or falling or whatever. And so other persons got bullet wounds. Morris Bishop himself sustained a light bullet wound on his left arm, right? Because he was wearing a short pants and a t-shirt. And so, it was just chaotic. During that time, Lieutenant Hippolyte, the discussion was there as to who would call out and tell them, because we were hearing voices saying, everyone inside there, surrender, surrender, come out with your hands in the air and surrender. So Lieutenant Sherbin, Porgy Sherbin, basically tried to approach the door to say, well, look, to get the attention of whoever soldiers was there. And a barrage of fire came basically through that door, almost killing Lieutenant Sherbin in the process.
Okay.
Almost.
You want us to take this call at this point?
Oh yes, we can take this call.
Go right ahead, caller.
How y'all doing today? Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, I sincerely do appreciate the fact that y'all are actually talking about the events of October 1983. And I just wanted to share a few things that I'm hearing, or a few things that I witnessed, because we was part of the demonstrations that started in Grenville. And how it started was the night after the 13th. That would have been the morning of the 14th. We found out that Morris was under house arrest, and there was a meeting apparently at Butler House the night before, where Doggy, a guy we knew called Doggy Errol, he stood up and kind of dropped a dime on Morris, stating that he gave them some rumor to spread or something. And the demonstration started from the convent school in Grenville. It was Gemma, it was Gooden's girl, Lystra, it was a few of us. But they met me in Grenville by the cinema, and then we went around Grenville, went to the junior secondary school, we went to SAS, and that was the first day of the demonstration. Now, we also continued the demonstration on that Monday. But then when everything happened, big was on the Wednesday. The Wednesday, that was the 18th, we actually went up to Pulse Airport and shut the airport down.
The Tuesday was the 18th.
I did not get to go to the fort because I was the one writing the placards for the demonstration, C for Communist, C for Code, no Morris, no school. And later on that night, we was detained as a result of doing those things. But it's an event that Grenadians need to not just absorb, they need to celebrate the events because that's part of our history. But celebrate it in a positive way and try not to repeat what happened in '83, because our history is bigger than who we are as people, as politicians, as prime ministers, as presidents. And our young people need to understand that our history is going to dictate our future. Okay, I sincerely do appreciate your program today, and y'all are doing a pretty decent job. You know, there's just one correction. That black car was H.A.'s old car, 6913, and then Ralph Hutchinson in Grenville was the one who actually owned that car at that time.
Thank you for
It was a
claiming.
black Honda Accord, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 6913. It was a black Honda, and Ralph bought it over from H.A.
Thank you. Thanks for the correction.
All right?
Okay.
And Goatee was the stupidity that was shooting through the door.
Lord. All right, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I think I know that voice. I think I know this voice.
Yeah,
that
you
talking
must know
to
the voice,
yeah. Look, man, we lost contact. You still have my number, boy.
Now we ain't lost contact, man. Just link me up.
All right, good.
You see, with the programs like this, man, you should link me up so we could make sure we give everything.
But you see, I don't think I still have your number, man.
It's all right. Yeah,
because remember you moved, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But we'll talk some other time.
All right, my brother. One love.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah, but keep on doing what you're doing, man. You know I always appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the support. All right. One love.
All right. Yeah. Take care now.
All right. Good. Yeah.
Right, Devon, so
I want to say a special good morning to Fiona Ferreira Granger, who happens to be my daughter.
Wonderful.
Good morning to you, my dear, all the way from the UK.
She never heard you speak about it before.
I don't think so. Good morning to you, and to all those, whether even Carol Decoto. Good morning to you. We were in the same NYO, the Monge NYO. She reminded me of that. Also, good morning to all of you, and much appreciated for the support.
Before we go back to the door with Lieutenant Bugman calling out to the others at the bottom, before we get to there, let me just take this call. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Scott.
Good morning, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go right
yeah,
ahead.
man. Well, oh God, Devon, I thought my story was juicy, but right now it's you take all the juice out of it. Now let me quickly say this here, Mr. Scott. No, Mr. Scott, around that time, I was a soldier for about 2 years prior to that, and then I was given a transfer from the army to the police. So around August of that year, I was in the police training school under the leadership of Lieutenant O'Neill. Now, I was accused of an infraction whereby I was disciplined and sentenced to 28 days in a military cell, which was up on the prison compound. Now, 2 weeks into my sentence, in a cell on the prison compound, I began to hear certain gossip about what was happening on the outside. Well, I began to get real concerned. All right. So the Saturday before that unfortunate day, I was in my cell. About 8:30 that evening, Lieutenant Redhead came with a jeep, drove right up to my cell door. I was in the cell with another gentleman, a friend of mine, who had some other infraction too, and he asked for me by name. And he told me that there was no room for me up here, so I must pack up my belongings. So I did. Now, so I didn't know, well, I'm telling you, by that time, I'm getting so concerned. I don't know what causing the poop not to come down. About 8:30 that Saturday evening. No, yes, right. So I said about that, he came to my room. Now, about 2 hours after that, a vehicle pulled up in front of my cell door. The doors was open, and inside of the cell came Radix. So when Dix came in, well, that time I'm telling you, I'm close to messing myself. So me and Dick start to talk, and Dick said to me, say, comrade, the revolution is over. Bernard Code and his boys is about to seize power. Right. At that time, so we spoke. He gave me a book, I don't know where I can find it. At that time, I had some bread and cheese, because in them time, from the army, bread and cheese was quite prevalent. I had some bread and cheese there, and I offered Dick some. And he said, comrade, I haven't eaten all day. I said, well, you can have all of it. And Dick ate most of the bread and cheese. He ate it with 2 sheets of paper that he had a whole set of stuff, write down on. Now, they came. Then after that, they came. Lieutenant Redhead, he came and they took me out of the cell. Remember, I was in police training school and they dropped me back on Melville Street there. That is where the NIS building is there now, where it used to be the police station. The police didn't know what to, the diaries didn't know what to do with me. Right, so eventually O'Neill came and I left. He told me, I am free to go home. My service is no longer needed. I spent the 2 days in the city, and I think the Monday morning I went up to Grenville. When I reached in Grenville, brothers, I tell you, Grenville was on fire. Convent, SAS, it's called GSS now. We used to call Junior Sec before. The demonstration was hot, and they say, well, they're heading for St. George's. I went home, I dropped my bag, and I came back into the city. Eventually, I got on a truck, and I end up in St. George's. When I get into St. George's, they were saying that, well, Morris is going to come to the market to address the masses and what and what. So I left, and I went up the fort. When I get up on the fort, I met a couple of friends of mine, and they said to me, we are on a move, Mark, let's go. So I jump in the vehicle with them. I was given an AK-47 with a couple of magazines, and they said to me that we're going to open up the telephone exchange and the carronage because that was locked off, they said. When we get there, they said, look, we meet people there, and they said, look, it is already open up. So the guys then said, look, we're going to take charge of RFG, Radio Free Grenada. Well, by that stage now, I said to myself, look, that's not my calling. So I dropped off and I went back up to the fort. Now, when I get back up to the fort, well, never know the hops room. That was the communication room downstairs. I went to the back of the building. In a short space of time, I see so many people who was on the front start coming to the back of the building. So I was trying to make my way now to see what was happening in the front. But when the crowd was so heavy coming in the back that I moved to the right side of the back of the building, fighting my way through some people. Well, at the end of that building was a kind of cave there. We used to have some a couple them big drums with diesel. So by that time now, you start hearing pop, 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 pop. When I get to the end of the building and I look up, when they say Morris and them was, I could just see the edge of the building just chipping out with the rungs. So I jump on top of a big drum and I jump to the top level of the fort there now. That is where the canteen used to be. And as I jump on top there and I spread my legs, I was right over a machine gun. The gentleman who, I don't call his name, was a gentleman from River Road. You know, he had the machine gun. I can't tell you who he was firing behind or what he was firing. And he looked up at me because my army name was Surplus, based on the different modes of production. So he said, Surplus, what you doing here? Up to now, I cannot even answer. I get stupid. And, I walked away. When I look, I saw another friend of mine took up position with an AK-47. He is shooting too. I cannot tell you what he was shooting against. No, he's a madman, or what we call a madman. He's, mentally disturbed. And I tell you, and at that stage then now, I jumped. Where I refused to jump, I said, I'm not going down there because I know the fort. Where I see people jumping, I said, they're jumping to mash themselves up. Well, the area where I decide I'm going to come down, I say, well, no, I cannot be the first one to go down there. And I tell you, and I stand up and I'm watching the armored personnel carriers and them shooting up at the building. If I had to die, maybe I was prime target. Mr. Scott, in the space of 2 minutes, maybe less than that, the same area where I refused to drum down, I was able to walk down on people. Because everybody, it was so chaotic, everybody just started to jump, and who jumped fell, and everybody just started to jump on one another. In the end, I just walked down, and I came down to where the old Ministry of Health used to be. Now, I walk all the way up to Cemetery Hill. When I get into River Road, they said that all over Grenville, there is no need to go up because they have people shooting up people in Granitown. Well, at that stage, I walk from River Road all the way to Snug Corner. That's when I get a ride with a truck, and we're coming over the hills. We lie down flat. When we reach, I ended up here now. When we reach in Grenville, I meet two friends of mine. They say, look, Mark, this thing we're going on there, we can't tolerate that. We're going to form a guerrilla organization. And at that stage, I said, listen, there is a lot of gorillas. If you want go in Africa and you could look for them, but right now, I'm going home to my family. It's a lot more, but that was just the gist of my experience there. Thank you.
Okay, my
Thank
brother.
God for that, my brother.
All right. I mean, thank you for your contribution. We're going to be going a little extra over, as you realize. We will be going over time today because we're still at the door of the ops room. Devon flat, everybody's flat down inside the ops room. Lieutenant Bugman.
No, Lieutenant
Hippolyte.
Sherbin.
Cherubin.
Lieutenant Sherbin, yeah, who went to the door.
He's the one that went to the door.
Yes,
Not
went to the
Bugman.
door. Not Bugman.
Right. So,
Bugman was still inside there. He was calm and collective as a good
so
soldier.
Porgy's at the door.
Porgy's at the door, trying to appeal to whoever that he recognized voice down there in control of what is important. I'm telling them that, look, that Lieutenant Sherbin here, thing, and he was greeted by a hail of gunfire. But eventually he didn't get shot, but he came back in, skid back into the ops and so, and they closed the door. And the chaos and panic started because then we realized that, look, persons inside there were targets, right, by the soldiers eventually, right, based on what transpired before and everything like that. And
was it that they came to do that, in your view, or was it that soldiers get killed, man decide, watch, we ain't taking that, so let me deal with them one time?
I am not, up to this day, I'm not convinced that the soldiers left Fort Frederick to come down to just kill people. I'm not convinced of that. And the evidence is there to show that. They had a mission that they had to, to fulfill. But coming down there and just shooting up the place was not part of that mission. That happened based on how the events transpired and so. But when the things settled, the quietness settled and so, the shooting and everything, and also by that time, the other officers, military officers that was inside of the ops room with us, Major Stroud, Captain Redhead, Lieutenant Prime, and I think one or two others, they left the ops room. They jumped out through one of the windows where I think the propel grenade hit a air conditioner or the window itself, and burst over. They jumped down into the back of the building and went down at the bottom.
Oh, so they were no longer in the ops room.
They were no longer in the ops room
they got
at the
out.
final moment. The next time I saw them is when I was exiting. But before exiting,
So
why?
that would be Dumpy, Chris.
Yes, Goats, and so. Now, the calming stopped. The fine stopped a little bit, and then we hear somebody in the bottom saying, Lieutenant Bugman, either Lieutenant Hippolyte or Lieutenant Sherbin, call out to one of the officers and say, look, get everybody together, everybody with hands in the air, guns down, arms in the air, and come out, walk out. Well, from the time we hear that, well, the women and them start screaming, and so, because, eventual. And then Bugman took charge of the whole situation. He gathered all the women, the couple of school children that was there, right? By that time, Belma was already shot, right? She was on the ground, basically, blood coming out of her head and everything like that. Avis Ferguson, and so, was already dead inside there, right? There was another soldier, Sergeant Dorset Peters from St. Andrews. He was the chief communications officer. He got shot in the crossfire. He lost his entire face. He was just leaning against the steps, and so his entire face blown away. So all the persons gathered the persons together, and Lieutenant Hippolyte Bugman said, look, all the women and children stay on this side. The leaders, including Morris Bishop, go stay with me. All right? And he tell Lieutenant Sherbin to lead and let the women and children follow him. And the doors open, and so, with all the screaming and whatever, and we exited the top. But in going down, right? So the first thing that we saw right at the front of the door going down was not his body. He was not dead as yet. Vincent Noel. Apparently he was shot by one of the BTR or one of the heavy machine guns, and his entire chest just split open, and you could have heard him asking for some either water or help. And we just had to pass over him and go down the stairs. And so, right, the women and children were in front, and so Jacqueline Kraft, all the women, Miss Bain, whoever, Peters, and we were behind. Myself, I was in front. There was somebody else, I think it was Gautier, one of them was there with us, and then Lieutenant Hippolyte, Morris Bishop, and some of the other leaders was coming down. And when we reached at the bottom of the step, the soldiers were there with guns and the words that were said to us: grab Morris, grab Kref, and all the other leaders and bring them aside. By that time, Bogman, knowing that, he was sort of overpowered in a sense, I was right behind him, and he just turned around. He said, Devon, boy, that is your time to move. And he just gave me a push. And right around the burning car, the BTR and another vehicle, I just slipped through in civilian, pistol in my waist still, all my elbow and knees and so were bruised up. And I slipped through and walked down still with my hands in the air, because soldiers take control of all the entrance. Now, in going down, one person I recognized that was dead on the ground, right underneath the flagpole, with the flagpoles anymore. And a guy they call Saltfish, he used to tear tickets in Regal back in the day. And he was lying on the ground with a hail of gunshot. You could have seen the holes with a little blood just pumping out through it, just leaning right there. And I just watched that and just keep walking, And when leaving there, one of the first things I did was go to look for my mom, because I know she was in a demonstration. Go down there. When I did find her down by Pebbles at that time, was where the Gale place is there. She had one shoes on her foot. And I just brace her, and so I say, Queen, I go into the camp. Went there, and I reached there, I met one of the officers there, that was Archibald, and while we were there, military vehicle came. A guy by the name of Punks was driving, and said that the colonel said that everybody from the unit gather up everything and head up to Fort Frederick. I know I was on the fort. I know where I was and what the position I was in, sitting, looking at information. I was in two minds whether or not to go up, but as a soldier, I obeyed orders, and we left. On our way up, we stopped in the fire station to put some gas in the van, in the Rover. And while we were there was a hail of gunshots we heard from by the fire station. Tat, 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 for about close to 2 or 3 minutes. Over more than 100 shots was fired. That is when I personally realized that persons up there were being shot or executed. That's when I came to the conclusion of that. Well, the journey continued to the fort. When I reached there, I took my AKS, put it on my shoulder, take my bag, and left the camp. And went home. All right.
I was home at this time, Tempe?
Well, no. Home was in the Glen, my father's premises. But I didn't go there. I had a girlfriend in the Point, close to where Folk lives. I went there and stayed there for perhaps about a day or so, and when they basically came and looked for me.
Okay.
They
came and looked for you at that point in time because you were up in the ops room, or
for two reasons.
You left the base?
For two reasons. They considered me as a deserted soldier, and because information get to the senior military officers that I was one of the soldiers that was right there close to Morris Bishop, basically as one of the bodyguards. That was was said. And so because the person saw me with a pistol well, I spent 2 days home, there, and then eventually when I went back, and so as I reached on the fort, a lieutenant Lieutenant Harris, Junior Harris. Duty officer, take that man and lock him up in the back there. I was scared like hell because he going down in the big jail. Well, God bless, and I always say, and he remain very good friend up to this day. Wendell Wilson, personal friend. When he hear that, he go and call Pop, who was Lieutenant Bridgeman, and Bogman, and Llewellyn Archibald, warrant officer, and told him, look, Devon up, and look, they want to send him down in the big jail. And apparently they go and they talk to Ewart Lane, who was then the chief of the army at that time, and thing, and he come question me and so on. I told him basically what went on and everything, you know, and after he just told me, he said, look, go get your uniform, go get your unit, and fall in line, you know. So that basically in a nutshell is you know, my account of that day, you know, eyewitness account. And so, you know, there are a lot of things that person,
not just out on the street, but actually inside the ops room.
Inside of the
one
ops
of the
rooms.
20 or so persons that would have been inside the ops room.
Inside of the ops room, who lived that day and see persons died.
How many persons would you have seen die?
In
between the ops room and
yes,
immediately outside that you would have seen? I heard you mention Saltfish, you mentioned Vince, you mentioned...
I also had a family member of mine who lived in town, Romaine, young Romaine chap, and so, who was in the militia with us in Queen's Park, happened to be my cousin. And so he died there on the fort. I saw him. Dorset Peters, Saltfish, Evis Ferguson. Well, Belma didn't die as yet. She died in hospital. Mm-hmm. And there was someone else that I saw. At least about between 5 or 6 persons that I saw died. Mm-hmm. Right?
You didn't see Connie or any of the other soldiers who were shot in the force that was coming. They had already been taken to the hospital.
Yes, taken to the hospital. By the time we get down there, they already... so. But a story I must relate to, though, events leading up right after that. And that day was an event that was told to me by Lieutenant Hippolyte Bogman. Because he left and go down to see Officer Mays, because I was his very close friend, right? And he told me that when he reached there and he spent a while, Mays died. So he came back up so sad and everything that he went up to the top of the fort. But instead of going through the arch and go into the square, he took a left, go by the antennas, and go in a big top part of the building where the officers' mess was, and he looked down. And when he looked down, there he saw the entire leadership, Morris Bishop, Jacqueline Kreff, Bain, Whiteman, the entire plus Brad Bullen, Halen, all of them lined up on the square. Right? And there were 3 soldiers, including Ayman Abdullah, Lieutenant Abdullah, and so Vincent Joseph, Jeremiah Richardson, Andy Mitchell. And so these were the soldiers that were charged for the execution itself. They were the ones lying up there waiting to carry out the execution. And he said he stood right on top there without nobody seeing him. And he heard the order was given to commence fire.
Who gave the order?
He said that Lieutenant Abdullah, Ayman Abdullah, gave the order to execute. Based on and we must remember that the orders eventually at that time was given to Connie Mays, who was on the first BTR, leading the unit. Now he died. The mission continued with Lieutenant Ayman Abdullah, right, taking command. And part of the mission of these soldiers were one, or as was stated by the chief when they left Fort Frederick, was one, to recapture the fort and secure the leadership, right, of the party and government, right, and to evacuate anybody who was wounded or whatever, right. But if there is any resistance on the fort, liquidate the leadership. And that was exactly the orders that was carried out.
Who gave those orders?
The orders was given by Lieutenant Colonel Ewart Lane. And it's not anything new. He said it in court. He admitted it. Everything that as the chief of the army at that point in time, day-to-day running, he had the obligation, he had the duty to retake the fort, which was the headquarters of the army, to recapture it and put it under control. So he gave the order to retake the fort and to do what needs to be necessary.
Okay, I think we have a caller online. Let's dive over to the phone line. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. I'm still calling. I'm standing right there, and there is so much water. You said
Okay,
to
ma'am.
me that people
Hello.
will do something about the water.
I've already addressed that issue. I spoke to them yesterday. They'll sort that out. That is not the issue we're dealing with today, but we'll be in contact with you. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's not what we're dealing with today. Yeah, we can't have things just like immediately as you call somebody just run out and do it. They just came off from how much days on strike, so it will be done. Yeah, and I understand the problem. I told you I've seen it myself. Yeah, 440-7377. Those of you outside of Grenada, 347-329-3101. We're not dealing with that issue today. We're dealing with a specific issue today. All right, so 347-329-3101. Those are the two numbers. We're going to go up for about the next 15 minutes. So if you want to call, you have an experience or so that you would like to share, we're going for the next 15 minutes or so on this particular issue. Yeah, Devon, it's been asked time and time again about the situation with the bodies. Firsthand, what do you know? And from persons who were directly involved, what do you know?
Okay. The information that I have, right, about the bodies, I was never privy to see the removal of the bodies from the fort. I happened to be on the fort like about 2 or 3 days after or so. And but based on the information that I heard, those who were executed and who were killed on the fort, right? Some of them who were killed on the fort. The bodies were removed, right, and brought to it's Camp Saline, I think it was then, but it was the camp where the permanent battalion, right, of the army, the major unit of the army was stationed.
Stick. We have an overseas call. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, actually, afternoon now. Okay, doesn't seem to be hearing that person. Caller, you'll have to call back. I don't know what's taking place there. We were getting calls okay on the overseas line, so I don't think it's our line. Yeah. So the bodies were taken to Camp Saline. From what you would have heard.
From what I would have heard, it was placed into a large hole that was dug, right, by the military, and so placed there, right, either gas or diesel or whatever, and so were thrown upon them, and it was lit afire. So it was burning, right, for a couple of days, based on my information, up until it was recovered, right, by the United States forces.
Okay, so that's the information that you have.
That's the information, and that can be backed up, and so by information given by the U.S. military itself, days, perhaps weeks after, right, of that.
We have a caller.
Good morning and welcome.
Hello.
Devon.
Hello, my brother.
Morning, guys. Good morning, Sheldon. Good morning.
Well, actually, afternoon.
Afternoon, rather. Thanks for the correction. Bro, doing a good job. I thought you was getting old, but your memory's still intact.
Things you live, things you live like that.
I mean, I know things like that you live through, you can never ever forget. And there's the reason why, as Grenadians, we can never ever forget that part of our history in no way, shape, or form. And it has to be spoken about, and it has to be taught to the younger folks.
Has to be documented.
The younger people have to know what happened and why and all of these things. Because if they don't, we, as I say, people that don't know history will forever repeat the history. And we cannot afford for those things to be repeated anymore. Can't.
Can't.
But you gave me, I mean, he's a good account, a lot of great account of what really happened, and Sheldon for once in a long, long time, you feel as though you're back in school again. You just have to sit and listen.
I often say I don't know about that. I have to follow. I have to listen.
You just have to sit and listen, my brother. It's a day that every day, anytime you think about it, listen to you guys for the whole morning, you just keep, just bringing shivers back, shivers coming through your spine, man.
Where were you, Wade? Where were you on that day?
I was maybe within the first 100 students. I was up at the Prime Minister's residence. What do you mean, GBSS? You think I go miss that? High school, GBSS, everybody, PBC, everybody. I was right up there, man. Right up there. Bright and early. But
it's an experience that you don't want to relive.
You didn't make it to the fort?
No. If I did, I would have been deceased like my friend Simon. May he rest in peace. Because Simon and all of us, we all together. Yeah. And I left just as they brought Maurice Bishop out, Prime Minister Bishop out, and I went on another mission.
Which was?
And I didn't get home until after 7 at night. And then upon getting home at that time is when I heard, who died and all of those things. Mm-hmm. But I detoured to another mission upon when they took him out of the house, brought him outside in that shirt and short pants, t-shirt and short pants.
What was the other mission? Your mom is listening.
I can't tell you on it.
Your mom is listening.
Mom is listening, eh?
Just letting you know your mom is listening.
I can't tell you on the air.
All right, brother.
She go listen tonight. She go listen on the rebroadcast tonight.
All right, brother. We'd like to thank you so very much.
She's probably at therapy right now.
And you realize the majority of callers are actually calling from the States today, huh?
Yeah.
From the U.S. today.
Yeah.
North Carolina, Brooklyn. We missed a couple calls, because how the story was flowing, you couldn't really stop at that point. So we'd like to thank you for your contribution today.
Yeah, man. I don't know. This program could go all the way up to 2:00 today, man. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's worth the time. I hope you guys have the time today.
Okay, my
worth
brother.
The time. All right. Have a good one, man.
All right. Thanks.
We'll be listening.
All right, my brother.
I'm not too sure we could go up until 2, but I know we're going up until 12:30, at least. Anyone on the short box with a question there? Right.
See.
Ronnie. Said the last time you see you that day was by Farm and Garden Center. Right?
Yeah, that was true. I was looking for my mom. Yeah, around that time. And hey, Mary, there are times when situation comes up like that, little tears come in the eyes because of, the emotions and so that you've been through and you see others going through it. That's part of it.
Every time this time of year, that would always come back. Yeah. All right, folks, we have just a few minutes remaining, 8 minutes remaining for today's program. The phone number 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Yeah, Devon, I know you definitely would get emotional on this one. I know you'd really, really get emotional on this one. I could never
get
even try to say that I could think of how you feel at this time or how you felt at that. I wouldn't even try to say that I understand what you're going through right now. But we'd like to thank you so much because it's not easy. I know a lot of persons have their stories and they're not saying anything. A book forthcoming anytime soon? Any book? I know Hannah was asking a little earlier.
No.
You see, I know to make him laugh, eh?
Well, no. You see, I one of the things I try to do is try and educate and to share, the story with as much, especially young people, even my children, and so then persons could understand as much as possible what went on and help to bring it to light. But hey, that's what it is.
We have 2 calls coming in. I don't know how we're dealing with it. Oversea line first.
Let's take them.
Good morning.
Yeah, good
Afternoon. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, listening to the program and is very interested. And I would just like to give a feedback on some of the things that I'm listening to. Right? But when I know most of these brothers, and all of these brothers that you mentioned the name that was in the military and things like that, when I know all of these guys, most of these guys, like some of them guys like Buckman and all of them guys, we all in the cadet co in GBSS.
Exactly.
And, you know, like you have college guys and GBSS guys. And, you know, for a small place, even the things that happen is just politics separate people, you know, because I had no Corny and all of these guys. But when I hear these, I leave the island because I was down there when, you know, the revolution had taken place, and then I came to New York. And when I hear that thing happen, man, I was so surprised because I know Grenada is a small place, and mostly everybody, you know, is like one
family.
But when this thing happened, man, it was very surprising to me that people could change, you know. Yeah, so
that's life, man. All right, my brother.
Yeah.
Thanks you.
We'd like to thank you.
That's why I was very, very surprised up to today. You know, I can't believe that ever happened. I always say to myself, you have to be some greater force that came in and influenced the mind of these guys to change them. You know, so I always say that there should be somebody bigger than just we. Why this thing happened, you know? Because black people don't behave in that kind of way. You understand? The only way we can behave in that way is when we adopt a different type of mentality, you know, different idea. That will make us behave that way. I want to know what you brothers think.
Okay. Well, caller, we have some others calling on the other line as well, so we'd like to take them as well. So we'd like to thank you so very much for your contribution.
Yeah, all right, my brother. Have a nice program.
Okay,
right,
thank
you.
Okay.
All right, and we have a call on the other line. Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Hey, this question is to Devon.
Sure.
Devon, it was said that the Prime Minister's house was a chamber of horrors. A lot of people used to be tortured up there. Is it true or false?
Which Prime Minister's house? Which Prime Minister? Okay. Well, if well, I assume that he may be talking of the late Morris Bishop,
because that was the Prime Minister at the time. So yeah.
And so well, I can't confirm that, but it was said by persons when Morris Bishop was freed, and so that that basically there was somebody was giving him something to weaken him, right? And that is why the nurses and so had to, you know, pay attention to him. I know he was dehydrated for sure, and so seeing him in the ops room and everything like that, but I can't confirm anything like, you know, torturing or so used to go on in the house. Whether he was tortured or not, I also can't confirm that. It's just basically, you know, hearsay by persons.
4407377. Yeah, and a day like today, we have to take it a little longer than normal.
Good morning.
Yeah, I have a quick question for you, Devon, because you might be in the know. Do you believe all along there was a sinister plot by a faction in the revolution to eventually to get rid of Morris and his power? Do you believe there was some sinister plot all along?
All right.
What I think, in talking to or knowing persons on the both side of the fence, and so I believe that the system that we were all involved in, right? They going towards socialism or socially oriented, the Cuba style, and so had breed some I don't know, some, how should I put it? Some emotion, some feelings, some things that persons was aligned to. They were formed on certain principles, and so. And during that time, these principles, and so, if you were found in violation or whatever, you know, you would be looked at as somebody different against the struggle or whatever. I think, in my view, along the way, during the revolutionary, the 4.5 years, there were misunderstanding and disagreements and so by the different leadership as to the direction of the revolution, right? And that is my view. Yeah, that is what happened.
We have a caller online.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you,
Hi,
Millie.
Devon and Sheldon. It's so good. I thank God for your program today. Devon, this is Carol.
Oh,
we
hi.
go way back from the NYO time.
Yes, my dear.
Yes. And you know what? I couldn't help listening to the program and being in tears this morning because I think this is the first time I've heard so much of what you went through, you know, and I thank God because He had a plan for you. That is why you survived.
Yeah, I thank God for that too.
Sheldon, thank you so much. I'm a regular listener. In fact, I listen every day. But I usually don't call in. But thank you so much for the program today.
All right. Thank you very much.
We live through it.
Okay.
So we can talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
my
right.
dear. All right.
And I think what that caller just said is you live through it so you can talk about it. And I think that's a very, very, very important statement for persons like yourself, that you would have gone through this. And nobody could say what Devon feels. Nobody can tell Devon what he saw, he saw. And from his vantage point.
And if anybody, out there, want to dispute whatever I said, hey, feel free. But I know over the years, these things are a thing that embedded in me. It cannot go away, right? I will tell the same story every year after year, until I am satisfied that we as a people take charge of our history, right? We take charge of things like these events and make it known not just to our people but to the world, right? The healing process has begun. It has to finish somewhere, right? And programs like these could only help to bring us closer together and to understanding that period, that 4.5 year period, in all of us' life, who really lived it.
And folks, with those words, we have to end it about here because at least one of the stations has to go off at now. I know 97.5 has to go. 89.5 is still with us. We'd like to thank them for the extra time today. Indeed, it is a day deserving of that extra time. The 34th anniversary. Well, is it the 34th anniversary or the 34th memorial? I'm seeing the 34th memorial.
34th memorial.
I'm wondering if it's 34 years ago or just the 34th time they're having the memorial.
34 years ago. Yes.
Right. So remember, the ceremony would be taking place this afternoon at 4:30 up there at former Fort Rupert, Fort George. So that would be at 4:30. It's the families, friends, and members of the October 19, 1983 Martyrs Association. And then tomorrow morning, remember, Parliament will be open. No curfew. Parliament will be open. Our democratic, constitutionally put in place Parliament, after being prorogued for less than a month, will be reopened tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. As such, we'll not be having hard talk, but you can tune in still.
Oh, yes.
We will be broadcasting live from the Parliament at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we look forward to bringing that to you and then being back here on Monday with more hard talk. Devon, closing words.
I just like to thank you, Sheldon, for, again, helping me bring out information that I think is much needed by the population. And I really want to thank all of you out there who take the time to listen, to share your comments, and hope that from today onwards, we all will pay particular attention to our history, events like October 19th. We cannot forget it. Our brothers and sisters lost their lives by the guns of our own brothers, right, and sisters. We must not forget that. We must also continue the healing process. Let us not look at the persons who commit the crime and continue to judge them. I think the justice system, right, has took its toll. They have spent a lifetime, over 25 years in prison. Most of them have atoned. They have asked for forgiveness. May not be public as most of us want to hear, but they have started, right? Books have been written, and so I want to urge all of us as Grenadians to concentrate on the healing process, the movement forward, right, for our people, ensuring that the younger ones understand our history and continue, right, to light that torch so Grenada stay alive. It must not be a selfish thing where you think you know the facts and you're not sharing it. And so we must do it for events like this. It is too much an important event in history for us to just bypass. I really want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity. And so, to converse. It was not an easy time, but I'm getting there.
He's actually, for those of you that may be listening via radio and are not viewing on the live, he has actually been crying in the studio. Huh? He's actually been bathed in tears here in the studio today. And that's the first time, and I hope the only time, I've ever seen Devon crying. This is not, he's laughing now, but this is no joke. He's actually been bathed in tears here in the studio today. And Devon, once again, I think on behalf of all of the viewers, we'd like to thank you and remind the viewers as well and the listeners there will be a rebroadcast of this program at 8 p.m. tonight on 89.5 CRFM, and for those of you in Brooklyn on 94.9 FM as well. There'll also be, the video would be rebroadcast at 8 p.m. as well via the Hard Talk website, the Hard Talk network, and at 3 a.m. as well. Immediately after this program, we have the National Report and one or two programs that would be running, so you can stay online with us. And remember, tomorrow, just a programming note, there'll be the official state opening of Parliament. Yeah, we know how to keep it shut for 6 months. So that'll be taking place tomorrow. Devon, what you say? The parliamentary curfew?
The parliamentary 6-month parliamentary curfew.
Right.
That NDC, my bad. And NDC put on us.
You didn't finish the statement, so you're good.
Right, in 2013. Never forget that.
All right. So that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. Been wonderful being here with you. We'd like to thank you so very much, Devon. I'll tell you all the thanks that people are giving online. You should be seeing some of them there. I'm getting some of them over here. We'd like to thank all of you. And